people keep writing me and wanting me to comment on this show, The Preachers of LA. And I thought about it, and being that I've had my own experiences with the church as well as the streets, I felt that I could give my assessment on not just the preachers of LA, but some preachers as a whole. You know, I've made this statement before. In American Pimp, I said that before you're anything, that you have to be a man first. And that my father would impress that to me often and let me know that, that manhood and what that stood for, would be paramount in my life. And so if I could say something about that show and about some preachers in general, I would say that there's a lot of males that's good at being a preacher, but bad at being a man. And I think what has happened is that people have clumped that together, and they think that it goes hand in hand, that because a person is a prolific speaker, that somehow this makes him that as a man. In my experiences, I understand that is false. There's some pimps that are good at being pimps, but bad at being a man. There's some sports figures that's good at sports, and actors that's good at being an actor, but bad at being a man. And because everything has been clumped in together, there's this false idea, because you've gained success in the particular area of your life, that somehow you are somebody to be lifted up with esteem in your manhood, or to be followed. And so if you have a generation of people following a celebrity because they've achieved some status in acting, or a sports figure because they've achieved some success in playing sports, this, obviously at some point you're about to find out that, the problem within our people, and people now following these individuals, is that they haven't separated the two. But I grew up understanding the importance of separating the two. I grew up understanding that whatever you achieved in your career was quite different than what you could achieve as being a man. And the fundamentals of manhood, And so let me speak to some of the church people, and then we're going to speak to some people that are in the streets. And I alluded to, something like this when I was on TBN, but let me just kind of break some things down. The reason why I wasn't so moved by quote unquote a preacher is because a lot of them preachers haven't faced situations where your life was on the line, which is going to be the real true test of who you are. You can get behind a pulpit and you can preach a beautiful sermon, but I'm not moved by beautiful sermons. I'm moved by integrity. And if you're up underneath a situation that's going to cost you your life, who are you then? Because that's the real you. So it's easy to Let me say it like this. It's easy for an individual to do good, like my father would say, when everything is going good. But he would say to me, but can you do bad good? He said that, he says, I like the juggler, but I always wanted to see what happens to the juggler when he drops the ball. Because this is going to determine to me who he is inside. Who are you when you drop the ball? So there's a lot of preachers out there that are in situations where they're not challenged on a daily basis about their disposition as a man, as far as putting your life on the line. Now, I've been around some street cats that've been in some areas that might cost their life, and I've seen them stand. And so because I grew up in this environment that I've seen people willing to die for something that they believed in, then my expectation of what I consider an individual to be was based upon his ability to act in a situation like that, not what he says. So what an individual says, what that is done today in this society, and pretty much, a lot of people have been deceived by what people say and not expecting anything on the doing part. But I'm always expecting on the doing part. What are you doing? So when I got out the feds, and I'm jumping a lot of places here because a lot of things are going on in my mind and I don't want to miss anything. When I got out the feds, I told myself that I would not be as accessible like I was before I went in, because when I went into the feds, I seen a lot of solid cats in there behind some other cats who claimed to be solid, who couldn't hold their own water. So I said to myself that if it hit the fan, the world knows what I'll do. The world knows that I'm going to stand. They sing that in American Pimp when I was facing life. They know I'm going to stand. So an individual dealing with me, he's advantaged because he already knows that I'll go the distance if it ever came down to it. But I'm at a disadvantage because I really don't know if he will. So what that does, being that I was in that situation, it gave me a new perspective on what my life would be when I got out. And so I kept myself kind of away and separated from, being accessible like I was before. And there's so many people that say what they would do if it hits the fan. They talk about how they stand and how they'd be a trooper, just like some preachers talk about what they would do and how solid they would be. But a lot of us know that you're not going to be that solid at all. So my question to you is, why don't you have an expectation of a preacher through what you know he's already conquered, through what you have seen him or heard about him or heard the testimonials that can be confirmed of what he stood through, instead of following him for what he's saying? Because I guarantee you, if you follow a man based upon only what he say, then you're going to end up with a bad decision. But if your criteria of that man is based upon what he has done and what he has proven, then you might have you a solid fella, pimp, preacher, or whatever. So it's just like in the game. A lot of girls are influenced by a man because of what he said to you. But there's no record that the man has stood on his word. And if you would be thorough in investigating that individual, then you probably make a better choice. And that's pretty much all today.